Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Echoes of Mana, although today we're going to go on a journey to talk about a Secret of Mana game that basically no one's ever heard of before. So, let's get to it. Before we get to the video, I wanted to thank today's sponsor, Amazon Coins, for sharing a promotion with us today in correlation with the Echoes of Mana launch. So this is an exciting one, you guys. If you're interested in Echoes of Mana, this is the one you want to know about. Right now, the Amazon Appstore is offering 1,000 Amazon coins back if you buy $100 or 10,000 Amazon coins using the link down in the description of my video. Saving this money in your in-app purchases is super easy. All you have to do is download the Amazon App Store, download the Amazon App Store version of Echoes of Mana, and then purchase Amazon coins. And you can use my link. You can visit this page and download or buy some coins through that link. And then anytime you use coins, you're getting a discount when you buy because you buy the coins at a discounted rate. So you can save up to 20% on all of your in-app purchases. And for this special promotion, this limited time promotion, you can get 1,000 coins when you buy 10,000. So this is a huge way if you're going to spend money on the game. I absolutely recommend this. It's something I use myself when I'm spending on gacha games. So without further ado, thank you so much, Amazon Coins, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get to the fun. Alright, so for those of you who know what this game is, I know, technically not a Secret of Mana game, but it is a very interesting game that a lot of Secret of Mana fans like, and it has some very interesting connections to the Mana series. So, this is a game that I played as a kid, and I really love it. It's awesome, okay? So, we're going to give some backstory first, because the origin of this game is actually very interesting. So, back in about 2003 was when the original Secret of Mana came out, and it was a huge success. It was a huge success primarily in Japan first, and then it received localization in other languages and traveled the world. Like, it was quite popular, but this came out, you know, in the early 90s where Japan and Japanese culture was still trying to kind of like take root in the mainstream American or Western consumption, right? So at that time, we didn't have the same amount of weeaboos running around with their arms behind their back watching anime and all that stuff. We didn't quite have that yet. You know, that wasn't quite to the prevalence that it is today in the fact that, you know, anime and stuff like that is very mainstream. Stuff that's produced from Japan in the 90s wasn't as popular. So after the success of Secret of Mana, Squaresoft, at its parent branch in Japan, said, hey, we need to take what's good about this game and make a game that appeals to Western audiences, right? So how do we make a game that is as successful as Secret of Mana, but tailor it to Western taste? And so they basically gave the instruction to one of their American branches, a Squaresoft branch in Redmond, Washington. They said, hey, you guys, we want you to make a game that is about a boy and his dog, and he travels through a bunch of basically B-liner movies that are just like a whole bunch of just like different movie genres or whatever. Like just boy, dog, Americana, make a game, right? So that's where Secret of Evermore came from. And originally they had some other names that they were going with, but Secret of Evermore came up, and the word Evermore was great. Tying it in as kind of like a spiritual successor to Secret of Mana was important by calling it Secret of something. And that's how Secret of Evermore was born, was we need to make something as successful as Secret of Mana, but we need to make it in such a way that, you know, Americans and Europeans will like it, right? Or Australians. Like, let's make it to their tastes. And so that game was born, and it came out about 2 years after Secret of Mana was released, and it only came out in English initially. It eventually got German and Spanish localization, but it was not as popular as Secret of Mana, and a lot of people theorize why, you know, but it got good reception, but not the raving reception that Secret of Mana did. So that being said, let me give you a little bit of a header for this game, because it's honestly a secret gem among the Super Nintendo era of gaming. It is such a cool game in terms of the sprite and pixel art. It is probably the best pixel art of any Super Nintendo game I've played personally, and it's just imaginative and fun. So as an overview of like the premise of the game, the kind of like prequel cutscene, or the opening cutscene, takes you many years back in a town called Podunk, USA. So it kind of like makes fun of itself right there. And it's a dinner party in this mansion, and you don't really see what goes on, but something goes awry, and then this mansion goes totally abandoned, totally defunct. Many years later, you know, nobody's seen going in or out of it. This dinner party happens, something goes wild, and now it's a haunted mansion, right? Like, nobody wants to go in it. What happens next is it shows the character that you play as, and this is right at the start of the game, so it's not really even a spoiler, right? The player character that you play as, the boy, whatever you want to name him, he's out walking his dog on the street, and the dog bolts into the mansion, right? So what are you going to do? Of course, you chase the dog into the mansion, and that's where you discover kind of what went wrong. You start piecing it together. You see, oh my god, something happened here. There's this machine, and you get trapped, and then all of a sudden, you're not exactly sure what happens, but you're hurled into the dinosaur era and attacked by velociraptors, okay? So it's a very explosive start to a game where, like, okay, you start out in Podunk, USA, you go into this mansion, you find a bazooka, and you fight a bunch of robots with a bazooka, and then you get jettisoned into the Cretaceous period and are attacked by velociraptors and all this other stuff, and you have to fight them with a bone because your bazooka broke when you crash landed, and it's very wild and awesome. So from there, the game takes you on a journey through this place called Evermore, and you meet different people along the way who were either present or know about the dinner party, and so you kind of piece together what happened at that dinner party many years ago, and what is Evermore, where did it come from, you know, what's the point of all this, like, why did this happen, and it's really fascinating. And I will say that, like, a lot of people kind of critique the story of Secret of Evermore for being kind of weaker than Secret of Mana, or even other, like, similar top-down RPG style, or, like, you know, story-driven adventure games like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. The storytelling's not quite as strong, I would concede. That being said, it is still quite cool, and I would consider it kind of like an immersive environmental sort of story, right, where you literally get yeeted into the dinosaur era, and you have to fight off dinosaurs and man-eating plants and all this other stuff using, you know, this primitive weaponry, and then you kind of travel to other places too. Like, you end up in a place that's kind of like ancient Greece, and that has Egyptian pyramids and kind of represents that, and then you end up in another zone that's kind of like the Victorian era with castles and knights and dragons and all this other stuff, and you even end up in like a science fiction area with like a moon base sort of thing. It takes you on like a really cool visual journey. So that's part of the charm for the game for me, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think anybody should play it. The thing I will say is that, you know, because it is a Super Nintendo era game, it's really hard. It's actually very, very hard. And I remember as a kid, I would always get to this one particular boss in the first, like, sort of environment, right? The dinosaur, the prehistoria, I think they call it in the game. The prehistoric zone. There's this particular serpent boss that as a kid, like, I would try over and over to beat, and I just never could. It was so challenging to beat this boss, and I never got past it. So I never really cared about the game because I was like, oh, that game's hard and it's not that fun. But there was this one time where I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to beat him right now. I'm going to beat this stupid snake boss. And I remember beating it and being like, oh my god, I did it. Oh my god, I did it. I finally beat the stupid boss. I got the item I needed to progress the story. Like, I finally, like, got momentum enough and discovered the whole rest of the game. Oh my god, it's awesome. So, anyways, I'll stop rambling now. I love this game. I think you should play it if you have a way to get your hands on it. I'm sure there are emulators out there. I still have the original cartridge in my house, so, you know, if I'm going to play it, I'm going to whip out the old SNES and put it together. But honestly, you know, with this talk of Echoes of Mana and how that's been going in this resurgence of, you know, let's talk about Mana games, I'm like, let's not forget about one of the coolest you know, Secret of Mana games ever made, that was made for Americans, that Americans didn't really love, but go back and see it now. I promise it's awesome. But that's what I wanted to talk about today, guys. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.